Nobody woke up this morning and said, I am going to destroy my finances today. Nobody sat down over breakfast and made a conscious decision to overspend, undersave, take on debt they couldn't afford, and fall further behind on building real wealth. Nobody chose it out loud, but it happened anyway, to millions of people, quietly, invisibly, without a single alarm going off. And the weapon that did the damage wasn't a bad investment. It wasn't a job loss. It wasn't inflation or interest rates or any of the economic forces we love to blame. It was a glance, a scroll, a look across the table, a photo on a screen, a conversation where someone mentioned what they just bought, where they just traveled, what they just moved into. It was comparison, and it has been silently bleeding your finances for years, possibly your entire adult life, while you had absolutely no idea it was happening. Today on Global Village Wealth Habits, we are going to drag this thing out of the shadows and into the light. We are going to show you exactly how it works, exactly where it hides, exactly what it has already cost you, and exactly how to stop it before it takes everything. Because if you do not name this enemy, you cannot fight it. And right now, most people are losing a war they don't even know they are in. Let's begin.
Where this began, the science behind comparison.
The year is 1954. A social psychologist named Leon Festinger publishes a theory that would go on to become one of the most cited ideas in all of behavioral science. He called it social comparison theory. His argument was simple and devastating. Human beings, he said, do not evaluate themselves in a vacuum. We do not wake up and independently decide how well we are doing, how successful we are, how attractive we are, how worthy we are. We decide all of those things by looking at other people. We are wired, biologically, evolutionarily wired, to constantly scan our environment and measure ourselves against others. This is not vanity. This is not weakness. This was a survival mechanism. In our ancestral communities, knowing your rank, knowing where you stood relative to others determined whether you got food, protection, a mate, status. Your position in the group was literally a matter of life and death. So the brain developed a constant, automatic comparison engine, running in the background. Every interaction, every observation, every social signal, processed, ranked, and filed as either I am ahead or I am behind. Festinger identified two directions this comparison takes. Upward comparison, measuring yourself against people who appear to have more, achieve more, or be more. This typically produces envy, inadequacy, and the desperate desire to close the gap. Downward comparison, measuring yourself against people who appear to have less. This typically produces temporary comfort and a false sense of security. Both are traps. But in the context of your finances, upward comparison is the one that will destroy you, because the gap it creates in your mind must be filled somehow. And in a world flooded with credit, one-click shopping, and buy now, pay later, filling the gap has never been easier or more expensive. Festinger published his theory in 1954. He could not have imagined what would happen when you took that ancient, primal comparison engine and handed it a smartphone.
The amplification machine.
For most of human history, your comparison pool was small. It was your village, your street, your workplace, the people you could physically see. And even among them, you only saw fragments of their lives, not a curated, highlight reel version engineered to make you feel behind. That world is gone. Today, your comparison pool is infinite, and every single person in it is showing you only their best moments. The vacation, not the credit card bill that paid for it. The new car, not the 5-year loan attached to it. The celebration dinner, not the overdraft that followed. The designer outfit, not the financial anxiety wearing it. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp status updates. These platforms do not show you real life. They show you a performance of life, and your brain, running Festinger's ancient comparison engine, cannot tell the difference. Every scroll is a data feed of people apparently doing better than you. And every data point your brain registers triggers the same ancient response. I am behind. I need to close the gap. And here is what makes this machinery truly sinister. It was designed this way on purpose. Former employees of major social media companies have testified publicly that these platforms are engineered to maximize what they call engagement. And one of the most powerful drivers of engagement is envy. Seeing something desirable, feeling the gap, wanting to respond. Tristan Harris, a former Google design ethicist, described it plainly. These apps exploit the same psychological vulnerabilities a slot machine does, but instead of coins, they extract your time, your attention, and ultimately your financial decisions. Every time you feel that quiet sting of inadequacy after a scroll, that is not accidental. That is the product working exactly as intended. And you are paying for it not just with your time, but with your money.
The financial bleeding, how comparison spends your money.
Let's make this concrete, because this is where the silent destruction becomes visible in your actual spending. The visible spend, keeping up. This is the most obvious manifestation. You see someone in your circle, a colleague, a cousin, a friend from university with a new car, and something shifts in you. Your own car, which was perfectly adequate before you saw theirs, now feels inadequate. A statement you don't want to make. You weren't planning to change your car. You didn't need to. But now the need has been manufactured not by reality but by comparison. And because you cannot easily afford a new car outright, you finance it. And the debt begins. This dynamic plays out across every category of spending. Homes, phones, fashion, holidays, children's schools, weddings, even funerals. The Nigerian context makes this especially sharp, where social events are often financial competitions dressed as celebrations, where the pressure to show well is a cultural force as powerful as any marketing campaign. People borrow to throw parties they cannot afford. People spend savings on ceremonies designed to impress people who will forget the details within a week. The comparison engine drives the spending, and the debt is the receipt. The invisible spend, lifestyle signaling. Beyond the big purchases, comparison creates a constant low-level drain. Small, recurring spending designed to signal status and maintain appearances. The restaurant you chose because it photographs well, not because it fits your budget. The gym membership at the premium location because the affordable one feels like an admission. The subscription services you barely use but keep because canceling them feels like a step down. The branded goods when the unbranded version would serve just as well, because the brand is the point. The brand is the signal. This invisible spending is the most dangerous kind precisely because no single item seems significant. You can justify each one individually, but together, they form a financial slow leak, draining hundreds, sometimes thousands, every month from a budget that was never built to sustain them. The opportunity cost, the wealth you never built. Here is the number that should genuinely disturb you. A person who spends just 30,000 Nigerian nairas per month on comparison-driven purchases, things they bought to signal, to compete, to close a gap created by looking at someone else's life, over 10 years has spent 3.6 million Nigerian nairas on the appearance of wealth rather than the creation of it. That same 30,000 Nigerian nairas per month, invested consistently at a modest return, becomes over 6 million Nigerian nairas in 10 years. Over 20 years, it exceeds 20 million Nigerian nairas. The gap between those two outcomes, 20 million Nigerian nairas built versus 3.6 million Nigerian nairas spent and gone, that gap is comparison. That gap is the cost of watching other people's lives and trying to match them. You didn't invest it. You spent it proving something to people who were too busy proving something back to you to even notice.
The faces of comparison, where it hides.
Comparison is cunning. It doesn't always look like envy. It doesn't always feel like keeping up with the Joneses. It wears many faces, and you need to be able to recognize all of them. Face 1. The concerned question. You're still driving that car? You haven't been on holiday yet this year? Your children are in that school? These are not innocent questions. Often, not always, but often, they are social comparison delivered as concern. They are designed to make you aware of a gap. And the financially vulnerable person responds to them not with confidence, but with a spending decision. Learn to recognize this face, and learn to answer it with your goals, not your ego. Yes, I'm saving to invest the difference. Full stop. Face 2. The celebration spiral. Weddings, birthday parties, baby showers, Naming ceremonies. Graduations. In many African cultures, celebrations are public statements of where you stand, and the spending around them is governed almost entirely by social comparison, not personal budget. The family that spent 500,000 Nigerian nairas on a naming ceremony last year sets the reference point. Now your naming ceremony must at minimum match it, or people will talk. People will talk. 3 words that have sent more families into debt than any lending app ever could. The celebration spiral is comparison wearing a cultural costume. It is real, it is powerful, and it is financially catastrophic for the families who cannot afford what the social script demands. Phase 3. The proximity trap. Research shows that we compare most intensely with people who are close to us in status, not those dramatically above or below. You are not tortured by the billionaire's yacht, but your colleague who just got the same promotion as you and immediately upgraded their lifestyle. That one stings. This means the most dangerous comparison is not with celebrities or influencers. It is with the people in your immediate circle, your peers, your age group, your social class. The people close enough to make the gap feel closable. Close enough to make you feel like you should have what they have. Choose your circle carefully. The spending habits of the 5 people you are closest to will shape your financial behavior more powerfully than any book or video you consume. Phase 4. The digital stranger. The influencer you have never met. The content creator whose life you follow daily, the travel, the fashion, the unboxings, the apartment tours. You do not know this person. You will never meet them. Their life has no actual relevance to yours. And yet your brain treats their content as social data. It runs the comparison engine. It registers the gap. And it sends the signal to close it. The digital stranger is the most efficient comparison machine ever created. One person can make millions of people simultaneously feel behind. And many of those millions will spend money today because of what that one stranger posted this morning.
The identity underneath.
We need to go deeper, because if comparison were just about showing off, it would be easier to stop. The real reason it is so hard to break is that it is not fundamentally about things. It is about belonging. Human beings are tribal creatures. Exclusion from the group in our ancestral past meant death. And so the brain is exquisitely sensitive to signals of social rejection. When we fail to match the consumption patterns of our group, the brain reads it as social risk. Not just embarrassment, actual threat. This is why the pressure to spend comparatively feels so urgent, so visceral, so hard to logic your way out of. You can know intellectually that you should not buy the thing, but your nervous system is screaming that not buying it means being left out, looked down on, quietly excluded. And nervous systems win over intellect almost every time. This also explains why people with strong, stable identities, who know clearly who they are, what they value, and where they are going, are dramatically less susceptible to comparison-driven spending. They have already answered the belonging question internally. They do not need external validation from purchases to feel secure in their place. Building financial immunity to comparison is, at its deepest level, an identity project. The question is not, how do I stop wanting what they have? The question is, who am I, independent of what anyone else has? Until you answer that question with conviction, the comparison engine will keep running your finances.
How to disarm the comparison engine.
Here is your arsenal. Use every piece of it. 1. Run your own race. Literally define it. You cannot stop comparing without something concrete to compare toward instead. Write down your specific financial goals, not vague aspirations. Specific numbers with specific timelines. A savings target. An investment milestone. A debt freedom date. A net worth goal. When you have your own race to run, someone else's sprint in a different direction stops being a threat. It becomes irrelevant. You are not in their race. 2. Audit your comparison triggers. For 1 week, notice every time you feel the urge to spend following social exposure. After scrolling. After a conversation. After an event. Write down what triggered the urge and what you almost bought. The pattern will reveal itself quickly, and naming it strips it of its automatic power. 3. Curate your inputs aggressively. Unfollow, mute, or limit any account that consistently makes you feel financially behind. This is not jealousy management. This is financial hygiene. You would not voluntarily drink something you knew was making you sick. Stop consuming content that makes you financially sick. Follow instead people building quietly. People documenting the process, the savings milestones, the investment journeys, the frugal choices that add up. Comparison is inevitable, so direct it upward toward values, not upward toward consumption. For redefine status in your own mind. Right now, in your social environment, status is probably signaled through consumption: what you own, what you drive, what you wear, where you eat. That definition of status is costing you your future. Consciously, deliberately, begin to redefine status for yourself. Wealth, to you, is what is in your account, not on your back. Success is what you own outright, not what you are financing. This mental shift does not happen overnight. But you begin by choosing it and reinforcing it every time you make a wealth-building decision instead of a status-signaling one. 5. Find a tribe that builds. The most powerful financial move you can make is to change your comparison group. Find people, in person or online, who talk openly about investing, saving, building businesses, achieving financial independence. When your reference group is builders, comparison pulls you toward building. Use the same ancient engine, but point it in a direction that serves you. 6. Practice the pause before every social-triggered purchase. Anytime you feel the urge to buy something within 24 hours of a social event, a conversation, or a scroll session, pause. Ask one question. Am I buying this for my life or for my image? If the honest answer is image, put it down. Every time you make that choice, you are reclaiming a piece of your financial future. Here is what I want you to sit with today. The most dangerous thing about comparison is not that it makes you spend money. It is that it makes you spend your life. Your one, finite, irreplaceable life, chasing a version of success that was defined by someone else, in a race you were never asked to enter, toward a finish line that keeps moving. The people you are trying to impress are too busy trying to impress other people to genuinely notice your sacrifices. The status you are spending to maintain is invisible to everyone except you. And the wealth you are forfeiting to maintain appearances, that wealth could have bought you freedom. Real freedom. The kind that makes you completely indifferent to what anyone else is doing with their money. That is the goal. Financial indifference to comparison. Not because you stopped caring about people, but because you started caring too much about your actual future to let other people's highlight reels write your financial story. You have been watching their race long enough. It is time to run yours. Share this video with someone in your life who is quietly bleeding because of comparison. They may never say it out loud, but they will feel seen by every word of it. Leave a comment telling me, what is one area of your life where comparison has been costing you money? Let's make it visible together. Subscribe to Global Village Wealth Habits. Every week, we give you the clarity to build wealth in a world that profits from your confusion. See you in the next one.